What's up with the squad? It's your favorite auntie with Uncle Tendencies. Welcome back to Cess Talk Sports. Shout out to my loyal family that keep pulling up. And if you're new around here, welcome to the community. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you never miss a drop. And everybody, go ahead, like, comment, share, hype this video so I know you pulled up. Today's film study, look, we getting nerdy in the best way. We finna get into the architecture of dominance. We're breaking down South Carolina versus Duke at the Players Era Championship in Las Vegas. Not just the score, not just the highlights, the architecture, the blueprint, the decisions, the physics, the NIL era vibes, all that. So in the comments right now, let me know. What was your favorite moment from this game? The second quarter chokehold, Madina's dominance, or Joyce turning into a point forward problem? Drop it below and let's build this one together. Let's set the table. We in Las Vegas, Michelob Ultra Arena, Players Era Festival. This is not your grandmama's Thanksgiving MTE in a quiet ballroom with 10 people, folding chair and a sad pep band, okay? This is bright lights, pro arena. NIL heavy, money on the line, exposure on the line, legacy on the line basketball. On one side, you got number 2, South Carolina, 6-0, living in that space where everybody low-key hates how good you are, but can't stop watching. We are the standard. We are the measuring stick. We are the problem. On the other side, you got Duke, 3-3, historic name, legendary brand. But right now, they not sitting at the same table. They trying to get back to that level under Carol Lawson. So for Duke, this game is resume gold if they can pull it off. For South Carolina, this game is about sending a message. In this new NIL festival, money on the line era, we still run this. And when it's all said and done, the scoreboard read 83-66 South Carolina, 17-point win. But if you just look at the score, you missed the story because this game was really about the paint and the possession math. South Carolina scored 58 points in the paint. Duke scored 28. That's a plus 30 edge at the rim. That's not a tweak. That's not a cute little advantage. That's a system. So we're going to walk through the environment in the Players Era Festival, the clash and program identities, how South Carolina literally built a house in the paint and invited Duke to live in the basement, how Duke did try to punch back, especially in that third quarter and that early fourth quarter push. It was cute, but it didn't add up to much. And what all of this means for March, for the ACC, and for South Carolina's undefeated tour. Yeah, grab a snack. Let's break this down. Let's talk about the Players Era Festival real quick, because this isn't just about one box score. Traditionally, these early season tournaments used to be go to an island, hoop at a ballroom, hope the AC working, some fans show up, maybe ESPN Plus has a camera. Cool experience, but it wasn't built around the players' power. The Players Era flip stat. We're in a pro venue. We're here during Thanksgiving week when everybody's watching hoops. You got NIL money attached, brand exposure, payout structures that actually respect the fact that these women are drawing eyes and deserve a stake in the economy they're building. And look at the field. South Carolina, UCLA, Texas, Duke. That's Final Four energy in November. But South Carolina pulling up to this thing is a flex. It's saying our brand is big enough to move tickets, move eyeballs, and we're going to stand right at the front of this new era. For Duke, this is a chance to jump the line. Beat South Carolina on this stage, and suddenly your whole season has a different glow come March. They came into this game 3-3, looking for that signature flip the narrative win. Now, program-wise, South Carolina under Coach Big Drip Dawn Staley has become something different. This isn't just a we recruit tall girls and hope it works. Nah, this is a philosophy. Coming into this one, more than 56% of our total points on this season were in the paint. That's wild. That's us basically saying we don't trust the three. We trust physics. We trust size. We trust effort. We're not trying to roll the dice with variance. We're trying to walk you under the basket and move you. Duke, under Lawson, is built on disruption and versatility. They're quicker. They're more spread out. They want to force turnovers, push pace, spray threes, get you uncomfortable. They don't have a Madina-type presence on the block. So their margin for error against a team like us is razor thin. And that's where this game gets fascinating. A team built on interior certainty versus a team built on perimeter variance. And in Vegas, of all places, y'all, the house won. Let's talk personnel, because matchups were everything in this game. On the South Carolina side, it's really land of the Giants. We got Madina, Okot, and fam, let's be clear. This was a statement game. 23 points, 13 rebounds, five offensive boards, 4 steals, 2 blocks. That's not a quiet double-double. That's I control the paint, and you just live here kind of performance. She shot 11 of 18 from the field. That means Duke knew where the ball was going and still couldn't stop it. Then there's Joyce Edwards, Rolls Royce. Listen, I'm just calling it what it is. Point forward problem. Joyce gave us 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. You don't usually see led the team in assists and second lead scorer in the same sentence for a forward, but that's her bag. She's catching it at the high post, reading the defense like a guard, and then either feeding Madina low, attacking herself, or spraying it out. And of course, Hollywood, Big Bird, Raven Johnson. The heartbeat at guard. Raven goes for 10 points, 5 boards, 6 assists. But the impact way beyond the numbers. She's picking up full court, setting the tone. And I need y'all to remember this. In that second quarter, when the game flipped, Raven scored 5 of her 10 points right in the middle of that 18-9 burst that broke Duke's rhythm. Now flip it to Duke. You got Toby Fournier, sophomore forward, giving him 16 points, 5 boards. For a young player to be as aggressive as she was against this front line, that says a lot. She used her bounce, her speed, trying to go around sides instead of through it. You got Mare, the engine. She's out there trying to organize everything. Finished with 8 assists. But when South Carolina started ramping up pressure, those reads got a lot tougher. And the turnover started feeding the monster on the other end. Then you got Riley Nelson off the bench. Smart plug. Gave him 14 points, 4 of 8 for the field, 5 of 5 at the line. When Duke made their third quarter run, a lot of that juice came from Riley just deciding, I'm not scared of the contact. I'm going downhill. So right away, you can see the philosophical split. South Carolina, we're going to stack sides and punish you for 40 minutes. Duke, they're going to lean into speed, spacing, shot making, and hope it all connects. And on this night, that size tax was too much. Let's walk through the game because you can't understand the dominance without respecting the Duke. They tried to come out swinging. Into the first quarter, listen, Duke 15, South Carolina 14. So if you just tuning in at that point, you're like, oh, we got a ball game. Duke actually jumps out with real energy. Taina Mare scores first. Toby Fournier hits a couple of buckets. They put together a 7-1 run, and at one point, they up 15-7. South Carolina goes over 2 minutes without a field goal. Duke even edges us on the glass early, 7-4 on the boards. The plan from Carol Lawson is showing up. Pack the paint. Make those entry passes hard. Make this a grind. They play that pack the line style, sagging off certain shooters, daring South Carolina to beat them from outside instead of just walking them into the paint. But here's where that championship DNA kicks in. Dawn Staley adjusts. South Carolina ramps up defensive pressure, especially on Duke's ball handlers. We start pressing the guards higher, bothering those early actions, and suddenly Duke's touches aren't coming at 18 seconds on the shot clock. They're coming at 9 or 10. Everything gets rushed. And then this is the first momentum crack. South Carolina closes the quarter on a 7-0 run. So Duke, who's been the better team for about 8 minutes, goes to the bench up 1 point. That's what I mean when I call it the illusion of parity. Duke did almost everything right and had almost nothing to show for it. Drop in the comments if you felt that shift watching live or on a replay. You can feel it. Even with Duke leading, it already felt like South Carolina had found a lever. Now let's talk about where the game was really decided. Second quarter, South Carolina 26, Duke 12. Halftime score, South Carolina 40, Duke 27. This was the chokehold. South Carolina opens the quarter on an 18-9 run. And the conductor of that train, y'all know, Hollywood. Big Bird, Raven Johnson. Raven scores 5 of her 10 in this stretch. But more important than the points is how she's attacking. She's getting into the teeth of the defense, forcing rotations. And once Duke's defense start bending, that's when the bigs start eating. Defensively, Duke's offense just collapsed. They shoot 5 for 14 in the quarter. That's about 35.7%. But the real backbreaker is the ball security. Duke coughed it up 6 times in that period alone. And when you turn the ball over against South Carolina, fail. That's a layup line the other way. That's how you end up getting smoked 24-8 in fast break points by the end of the night. And we got to put some extra shine on Madina Okot. Here, in that second quarter, Mo scores 9 points by herself. And these aren't cute jumpers. They're sealed deep, catch high, finish through contact. Duke just could not get her off her spots. And then the thing Carol Lawson talked about after the game, the offensive rebounds. By halftime, South Carolina had already grabbed 11 offensive boards. 11. That's not just 11 second chances. That's 11 extra defensive possessions for Duke. You guard your tail off for 25 seconds, force a miss, and instead of getting a rebound, you hear the whistle blow, and now you got to do it again. Lawson basically said after the game, that double-digit lead, that was built on about 22 extra possessions. And she's right. That's where the game tipped. So when we hit halftime, it's 40-27 South Carolina. Same sport, different reality. Now, this is not a story where Duke just folds and disappears. That's not what happened. Third quarter, Duke 24, South Carolina 21. Running score, South Carolina 61, Duke 51. Coming out of halftime, Duke had a choice. Lean into embarrassment or lean into pride. And to their credit, they chose pride. Offensively, this is their best quarter. They shoot around 42% from the field, and they probably start hitting from deep, going 3 for 4 from 3. You can see their confidence grow with each make. This is where Riley Nelson really starts to pop off. She's attacking the rim, get herself to the line, hit 5 of 5 at the stripe, and give Duke a scoring punch they absolutely needed. Fournier's still active. Ashlyn Jackson trying to play her way through a rough shoot night. But here's the problem. Even at Duke's best quarter, they still lose the math. South Carolina, we shot 60% in that third quarter, 9 of 15 from the field. Every time Duke trimmed it down, South Carolina answered. And who's answering? Rolls-Royce Joyce Edwards. Joyce played the entire quarter and drops 10 points in those 10 minutes. She hits mid-range pull-ups. She drives it. She plays through contact. She facilitates. If that second quarter was about Raven and Madina, the third quarter is the Joyce Edwards show. So what we get is a quarter where the teams are basically trading buckets. Duke wins it by 3, but when you're down 13 at the half, trading buckets is your enemy. You don't need exchanges. You need stops. They just couldn't string those stops together. Fourth quarter, this is where the game gives you that little bit of drama before South Carolina slammed the door. Final quarter score, listen, South Carolina 22, Duke 15. Final 83-66. Duke actually makes a real push early in the fourth. There's a moment where Ashlyn Jackson, who's been struggling from the field all game, she's hitting at 4-15 total, finally hit a little rhythm. She get a jumper to go, then hits a 3. That sequence gets Duke within 8 points, 67-58. And if you're a neutral fan or even a Duke fan, you feel that little, okay, wait a minute moment. That the building feels it. You got UCLA and Texas fans looking around like, hold up. Is South Carolina really about to let a big league go on this stage? South Carolina answer with what I call championship response. No panic, no hero ball, chuck a 3. We tighten the rotation and go straight to what we do best, attack the paint. This is when Tanaya Latson says, enough. South Carolina on a 14-3 run to stretch the lead out to 81-61. A lot of that, Latson just relentlessly getting downhill. She put up 6 points in about 6 minutes, not by doing anything wild, just refusing to settle. Forced Duke to foul, put pressure on the rim, got to the line, broke their spirit. After that run, the last couple minutes are just formality. Duke gets a late 3, South Carolina trade a couple possessions, but the game had been decided. The story was written, and the final step is that 17-point margin, which honestly feels fair. Duke had their moments, but South Carolina, we had control. Okay, fam, let's nerd out for a second, because this box score is wild in all the right ways. Final score, 83-66 South Carolina. Now let's look at these numbers. Points in the paint, South Carolina 58, Duke 28. That's plus 30. Field goal percentage, South Carolina 47.3%, Duke about 39.3%. Total rebounds, South Carolina 43, Duke 35. Plus 8 on the glass. Offensive rebounds, South Carolina 15, Duke 10. Steals, South Carolina 9, Duke 1. Fast break points, South Carolina 24, Duke 8. Bench points, look, Duke actually won this 22-11 thanks to Riley Nelson. Now, here's where it gets really interesting. South Carolina, listen, we went 1 for 10 from 3. I'm going to tell y'all that. I'm going to say that one more time. 1 for 10. 10% from deep. In modern basketball, that's usually a recipe for a L, a hot L, especially against a power 4 opponent. But we still win by 17. Why? Because inside the arc, we're putting up 1.2 points per possession. This was like watching a 1990s game played with 2025 athletes. Layup after putback. And if you do, it doesn't matter that you shoot 40% from 3, 8 for 20. 8 threes is 24 points. South Carolina 58 in the point, that's 29 layups or post bucket. The math just ain't mathing for Duke. Then there's the turnover story. Turnovers themselves, pretty close. 18 for South Carolina, 16 for Duke. But all turnovers not created equal. South Carolina had 9 steals, which means 9 live ball turnovers, which means runouts, which means layups and fouls. Duke, 1 steal. So most South Carolina turnovers were dead ball, traveling, offensive foul, pass out of bounds. They give Duke a chance to set the defense. So when you see 24-8 fast break points, that's where the steals show up. South Carolina turned a similar turnover volume into way more offense. This is why I keep saying this wasn't just South Carolina's bigger. This was South Carolina's smarter about where our points are coming from. Let's circle back to some of these individual performances and really get some flowers out properly. Madina Okot, MVP. 23 points, 13 boards, 5 offensive rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. 4 steals from a post player, y'all. That means she not just standing under the rim waiting for stuff to happen. That means she jumping in passing lanes, guarding in spaces, reading entry passes, switching on the smaller players and still winning. This was her 5th double-double of the season, and she made it look routine. If this is the version of Madina that South Carolina is going to get consistently, that changes the ceiling of our whole team. Joyce Edwards, point forward, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists. This kind of stat line you get from somebody who has the ball all game. But she's sharing it with Raven and Tanaya and still giving us those numbers. This was her 7th straight game in double figures. She completely controlled the third quarter, kept Duke at arm's length, and proved she can be both a scorer and an organizer. She's the hub of the offense. Raven Johnson, a catalyst. 10 points, 5 boards, 6 assists. Look at the box score and you like, solid game. You watch the film and you realize she was the turning point. That second quarter explosion, her fingertips are all over it. She's the one getting paint touches, collapsing the defense, forcing Duke's rotations to break down. Her energy, her pace, her willingness to pick up full court, that's leadership. Duke's trio. Toby Fournier, 16 points, 5 boards. She fought. I mean, she really did. Against this front line, to still find ways to finish and stay aggressive, that's big time for a young player. Riley Nelson, 14 points, 4-8 shooting, 5 of 5 from free throw. Instant offense, toughness. Gave Duke life in that third quarter and kept them breathing in spots where the game should have just been over. Ashlyn Jackson, 11 points, 4 assists on 4-15 shooting. Rough shooting night, but she did hit some big shots in the fourth quarter to cut it to single digits. Problem is, when you're that inefficient early, it gives a team like us too much room to build a lead. I always love to look at what the coaches say after a game like this because it tells you how they're seeing the same 40 minutes we just watched. Carol Lawson, she kept it real, pointed straight at the rebound and the extra possessions. Basically said, look, they had 11 offensive boards by halftime, and that double-digit lead was built on about 22 extra possessions. And listen, playing 30 seconds of defense once is hard. Playing 30 seconds of defense, getting a stop, then having to do it again because you couldn't secure the rebound, that drains you mentally, physically, emotionally. She also admitted it straight up on the uh, Okot Edwards problem, paraphrasing, but she was like, I don't know if we slowed him down at all. The size of 11 is challenging. She's strong. She finishes well. That's honesty. That's a coach who understands what she just saw isn't about effort. It's about roster construction and the reality of physics. South Carolina side, you don't even need a ton of quotes. The identity was all over the floor. Big Drip has talked about this idea of a new identity with this group, not living or dying by the three, not dependent on being some run and gun perimeter team, but being a brutal, physical, interior first program. In this game, almost 70% of our points came in the paint. That's not an accident, that's a point. We're bigger, we're stronger. We're going to play the game where we have the advantage and make you adjust. And Duke, they just didn't have the personnel to adjust at that level. Let's zoom out. South Carolina, listen, we 7-0, still ascending. With this win, look, we punched our ticket to the Player Era Championship game versus Texas. They just beat UCLA. That's another maybe heavyweight matchup, people say. Another data point for March for sure. Another chance to flex the brand on a big stage. Nationally, we look like a lot for a 1 seed if we stay healthy and locked in. We're sitting at number 2 in the polls behind UConn, but performances like this tell y'all we don't fear anybody. There's one little thing we got to watch. That 1 for 10 from 3. In a game like this, it don't matter because Duke couldn't match the size. But when we start talking about teams like Texas, even UConn, other squads that can at least hang in the paint and defend without fouling, we're going to need some nights where the perimeter shots fall. The scary part is if you're everybody else, if Madina is going to live in that 20 and 10 neighborhood consistently and Joyce is going to do 26-6 type stuff, you still haven't seen South Carolina have an A+ shooting night yet. What happens when we do? That's how you end up with a team that can win ugly, win pretty, win inside, win in transition, whatever the game calls for. Duke, 3 and 4, lessons from the desert. Listen, now that you got to turn around and play UCLA in the third place game, that's tough. That's a look yourself in the mirror week. The issues is clear. Y'all got a rebounding problem. You can't give up 15 offensive boards and expect to win in the ACC, let alone against top 5 teams. Y'all are going to need more help on the glass, especially from your bigs, and guards need to be committed to gang rebounding. Defensively, your scheme is sound. Pack the line idea works in theory against a team like South Carolina. If you're going to pack the paint and still give up 58 inside, then it's not just a scheme. It's personnel physicality. The good news, shooting is there, 40% from 3. Fight in the second half, refusal to fold, real positive. So, I put Duke in that bucket of maybe dangerous floaters in March if they get it together. If they fix even half of the rebound and clean up some of those live ball turnovers, they can absolutely scare somebody in the ACC. But if they don't, they're a team that can lose to anybody that decides to bully them on the inside. So when we call this episode the architecture of dominance, that's what we're talking about. It's not just the South Carolina won, it's how we won. A second quarter chokehold where Raven Madina and that offensive glass just suffocated Duke. A paint avalanche, 58-28, where Duke's threes just couldn't keep up with us. A championship response in the fourth when Duke cut it to 8. South Carolina calmly dropped a 14-3 run on their heads. And now the players' era moves on, and so do our teams. South Carolina with another big statement on our undefeated tour, and Duke with a hard lesson from the desert that they have to take back in the ACC play. In the comments, y'all let me know. Who was your MVP? Madina, Joyce, Raven, somebody else? What worries you more long-term? If anything, is it South Carolina's three-point shooting or the foul trouble that could come with this physical style? And if you're Duke, what's the first thing you fix before conference play really hits? Make sure you drop a comment with your thoughts on South Carolina versus Duke at the Players Era Championship and how this paint-first identity changes the Gamecocks ceiling this season. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the notification bell, and share this video with someone who loves the Gamecocks and the game. Catch y'all next time on Cess Talk Sports, where we always bringing you the latest on the rising stars and legends in the making. Y'all keep hooping. Stay tuned. Talk soon, y'all. I'm out.